For us, we look at your experience. If you have experience in public library, you have experience in the particular area that we're looking at, even if it's a paraprofessional and you have an MLIS, which all of our librarian positions do require an MLIS, we will still hire you. We retain a large percentage of our staff. We promote from within. We believe very strongly in that. So just because we hire you in as a paraprofessional and you have experience at a higher level, if you're willing to stay with us, we're more than willing to work with you and to try to move you up. Myself in particular, I had been an assistant director in Mississippi. When I came back to North Carolina, I started as a unit supervisor, which for us is a librarian too, and have jumped now back up to assistant director. So we are, in our organization, very willing to work with moving people up the ladder.
I don't think that's all that common a situation for those seeking a school library job necessarily, but I'll just sort of echo that as I got my first library job out of library school, and I was of course eager to go to work, and the only position that was available in the area I was in was as, working at the circulation desk part-time. So I was way overqualified for that job, and people knew that I was, and they knew I was a very eager new professional and anxious to really be practicing my profession. But they, I think when you don't have 175 applications to look at, and you have more of a face-to-face thing, you can start to sort of gauge, is this someone who I think could fit in, and even though, they have their professional degree, that they are going to be a great team member wherever I put them in the organization. So, and the other thing is, sometimes it's hard to know sort of where people are in their stages of life. Like sometimes people will decide to kind of back off on a career path because something different has happened in their personal life. And there's really nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes you can have people who are more motivated, I think, because they've made, a shift in their career path. So, maybe some people might see that as a problem, but I don't see that as something that is a barrier that you can't get past.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely not a barrier for us either. Our job ads are written perhaps frustratingly vague for people. Sometimes we don't have we don't have years experience requirements. We don't have a lot of specific tasky type things. A lot of times it's a little bit more conceptual, so it's hard to be overqualified for something like that. People can be differently qualified. We're looking for something over here and they're really over here. But if you can tell me the story that pulls you back, I'm willing to listen to that story. And I think especially what you're talking about, if somebody's trying to make a career change or even a geographic change, I don't mind hearing about that. I mean, I do. Every now and again we'll have a job that's like, okay, this person was, a department head and now they're applying for, a reference librarian position. What's the story here? Tell me the story. If you're in Minnesota and you hate the winters and you want to move here, that's cool.
So you want to see that in the cover letter?
I would.
Clarify?
I would. I mean, I wouldn't say too much about it, because I have seen people on search committees be like, well, I don't want to know that they're interested in North Carolina. I want to know that they're interested in our job. But I want to know why. And if part of that story is, I want to make a change, that's fine. If you're truthful, some people might take it in different ways, that like, oh, they just want to get here and then they're going to jump ship the minute they get here. So you might want to, have the story be a little bit more compelling about why you want this job or this in this institution. But yeah, I mean, it's all part of the story. I'm cool with it.
Can we put a disclaimer on this video that the opinions expressed are my own?
And I want to say a disclaimer.
I'm sure that our personnel officer is just going to turn over, but no.
I can blur your face.
Yeah. The Carolina blue shirt would be no, it's not. I'm not going to say anything that controversial. We're all humans. So we do look at things like that and say, oh, why is this? I mean, you try not to. So that, let me put that disclaimer in there. You try your very best. We have a very relatively structured approach. I mean, it's the job ads are written relatively specific at UNC, and you are looking, does this person have X, Y, Z as we're going through the list? And if they do, then they can get to the phone interview stage and then on. But you always, you're humans, you're always reading into the story and trying to figure out. So that's where I'll echo that. It may be better in some cases, it's all a judgment call, to say why you're moving from a department head down to an entry-level position. Because I've seen those, and PhD, all this stuff, and then you're going for this position? Really? What's going on? And sometimes I think it's better to just go ahead and explain it than to have human nature kind of spinning in the back of the search committee's head saying, oh gosh, what's the story? What kind of baggage is this person going to bring to this job? It's like our structure is to not counter that, or to not factor that in. But I mean, we all make mistakes, and it's as objective as you try to be, subjectivity does come into the play. So those are the opinions of Jason Tomberlin. The camera do that, but it is good to see that. And again, you don't want a whole life story about from birth to your 50th birthday and how you got there, but some explanation may not hurt sometimes.